Man. With only a few hours away, ladies and gentlemen, before the Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios fight, guys, with only some of the boxing matches that have already ended, matches like David Piasco versus Kyosuke Kameda, or Mark Masagoya versus George Mata, and Gary Allen Russell already had his fight in a 10-round knockout against Hugo Catamedo. And even though Sebastian Fundora and Brandon Figueroa hasn't been fought yet, those fights haven't happened yet, so who knows? I think it's time to bring down the Mr. GLOAT podcast to Wembley Stadium. So before we go to the MGM Grand Garden, which I'll get that footage released probably in a fewer days. Probably for the best. Because for now, guys, we are going live to Wembley Stadium. Wembley Stadium, the home. What an amazing story. July the 19th, competition, swinging straight down from memory lane, live on British Boxing Board of Control, Frank Warren promotion of Steve Furness, matchmaker, and the unofficial charge of Charles Giles, and timekeeper Brett Bowles, Mark Shannon, and some other commentators on the show, and other people that I won't get into all the announcers because this isn't a pay-per-view. Well, this is a pay-per-view, but just to let you guys know, if this was like MMA fighting or world professional wrestling, because professional wrestling and some of the MMA of UFC have archives and live footage. And when I say archive, I mean archive footage from start to finish. And it's bad that professional boxing doesn't have that type of archive footage to show us information of how the show started. Well, they do, but its problem is there's a lot of stuff out there, even in today's world, that we have to watch on VHS tapes where people record their stuff on VCRs. So it does stink in today's world that there's a lot of missed footage out there. And it's like professional boxing doesn't get archive footage as much than we should. So it is what it is. So I don't pay attention to that except the information that is on BoxRec. So live at Wembley Stadium. This is the 15th event at Wembley Stadium. The first one to be held since 1920-24. And other matches like one in 1935, another in 1936, one in 1937. And then in 1956, they brought it back. There wasn't a lot of craziness happening. And then in 1959 in February, they had, well, some legend boxers out there and others that were, well, not much. Because technically, those fights at Wembley weren't remembered we talked about until June of 1963. Muhammad Ali versus Henry Cooper. Amazing. Where Cassius Clay was knocked down in the 4th round. He came back and knocked out Henry Cooper. Incredible. And then 23 years later, in 1986, Tim Witherspoon defended his WBA heavyweight champion against Frank Bruno. And after all that, he received a check of only $90,000 for all of that, with Bruno receiving $900,000. I wonder why. I wonder why. And then we had to come back 9 years later in 1995 in September. The famous moment of Frank Bruno getting his marks 9 years after his loss. Defeats Oliver McCall to become WBC World Heavyweight Champion. And Nigel Benn defeating guys like Daniel Perez and such. And Virgil Hill scoring in random 12-round win. Not much to talk about. And then we come back 19 years later in 2014. We get another show in Wembley. This time it's the match of Carl Froch versus George Groves. 2. And it ends with a finale, happy ending, riding off to the sunset for Carl Froch and retires like a happy man. George Groves, well, he would have a few more years left in him. losing title shot against Badu Jack in 2015, and losing IBO after defeating Chris Eubank Jr. in 2018, and then lost against Callum Smith. Can't say much about that, right? And then 3 years later in 2017, in April, well, we already know about Klitschko's final fight when he lost against Joshua. And then in September 2018, when Anthony Joshua changed his boxing style when he fought against Alexander Poviekin. And when I say he changed his boxing style, I really meant that he changed his boxing style, which came to his demise months later in June with the Andy Ruiz fight. Oh, and fun fact, guys. The first show to take place back in August the 9th, 2024 was the main event show of Jack Bloomfield versus Tommy Gibbons, where Gibbons defeated Bloomfield in a third-round KO, with referee Eugene Corey being the referee of that finale. It also stated that this was the first ever boxing event at famous Wembley Stadium as a main event, and it holds significant crowds of the people at the time, which was one of the highest recorded crowds in history. So 1924 was crazy. But anyway, guys, by the end of that year, it would take us 4 more years until we go back to Wembley Stadium in April 2022, where Fury defended his WBC belt against Dillian White and even other titles at the time that really don't matter for me. And then we go back 2.5 years later in September, where, well, Joshua tried to get his comeback and Dubois took it away from him. And guess what? July the 19th, ladies and gentlemen, 2025, we are witnessing history. A British fighter that wants to become undisputed since 1999, and a guy that might become the first male boxer to ever become a 3-time undisputed champion in the 4-belt era. Now that's crazy. Because at this moment, considering Terrence Crawford was the first to do that as being a 2-time undisputed champion, 2 weight classes, and Usyk followed along a year later after that. Of course, Naoya Inoue became undisputed in 2023, which made him the second person to do it. And a year later, Usyk did it to become the third. Guess what? If he wins this fight tonight or today, he'll become the first to become 3-time champ and undisputed in the 4-belt era. 1 cruiserweight and 2-time heavyweight. That's crazy because he's 38 years old. But guys, the real history takes place. So guys, at 1:30 p.m. or 12:30 p.m., the show would start off with the prelims, and it would also state that, in my opinion, because of the matches, that there was a 6-round fight that would be the opener show and a 4-round fight to be the final match. And the last 4 matches on the show would be the pay-per-views. So here we go with competition. Lasha Gurui versus James Francis. So I'm going to cover through all this quickly. So James Francis lost his first fight in his 4th professional fight in a full year by a 39-38 loss with Mark Lyson being the only judge there, when a guy named Stefan Vincent, a guy with 1 win and 6 losses, pulled out the upset. So James just took on more nobodies, and now he's taking on someone with 1 win. Lasha Guru. And there you go, Mr. Bug. A guy from Georgia. The guy put up his first win in March a few months ago against an undefeated Bernard Abbey by a 6-round points decision. And all judges had 58-53. So, whatever you say, 6-0. So, interesting. So, the fight goes on as this. By the way, guys, this is where they debut another referee named Amy Poo. So Amy Poo is living in the UK in Enfield, London, England. And I will say about her performance, and when I try to find footage of her after this show is over, it is interesting. So she does 4-round, 6-round fights and preliminary fights in her career. So she's done it since 2023, and she's about over 114 professional bouts. And I will say, I will say this, though. Her own performances, Amy Poo is not a bad referee in hindsight, well, she will yell out the word break as she does. Now, she is partly Asian, as due to the looks, but as living in the UK, she does have an interesting success for something here, but not much as a legit. Like, I can say she has some good refereeing for women title fights and such, so, but she does take things easy here. Because every time someone is clinching, she'll yell out break. And of course, if a boxer doesn't break out of a hold, she might walk over and stop him. Like, she's not going to walk towards him and say break, 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 depending on how many times it happens. So in the first round, Lasha starts off some offensive punches, and Lasha lands punches, letting his shots go. He did land a good left punch in the part of that first round. There was a moment where they clinch, and referee Amy doesn't go to stop the break. She just says break while she's 10 feet away from them, just to see if they're going to break by themselves or not. So Lasha attacks James to the ropes 3 times in the final minute, and which was an easy round. Like, Lasha got the easy round there. By the way, this is a 6-round fight after all. So we go to round 2, and Lasha lands an uppercut early in the right. And then early in the fight, and then later he throws a right hand and attacks hard on James, and Lasha gets James caught in the ropes at one point, and then they go to the middle where it's an interesting, like a headbutt, because Amy Poo stops the fight and warns James for a headbutt, but I would later learn that's not the case. Because as Lasha starts to land a heavy right uppercut, and this would be many uppercuts, but then James is only, like, there's only times that James is only throwing one jab, and Lasha's corners James to the ropes at one point and hurts him really hard with multiple punches. And he hurts him so hard with James not even trying to fight. Like, he doesn't want to fight. The round ends with the referee telling to break, showing James a bloody nose. They go back to the corner, and Lasha gets another round there. And yeah, at this moment, he's already bleeding before the round's over. But we come to round 3. James is running counterclockwise, and there's times that he'll run clockwise, not even trying to fight. And to be honest, that just goes to show you what competition you're watching here. While Lasha is getting this win easily, with 1 minute and 30 seconds left of the third round, James charges after him to tackle him. Like, he was about to do a little bit of an Edge spear, like Edge from WWE. Like, he was going to charge in and spear him, and Lasha gets out of the way, and he hits the corner ropes, which was crazy. I was really shocked that I saw him did that. He was just trying to charge after him, and he just collides into the ropes, which was funny. But at this moment, James' nose is broken. There's no way they should even continue with this, like, even with the final rounds at this moment. The bell rings, and we go to round 4, and I'm like, this fight has to stop. But James tries there's a moment in the round where, in round 4, James tries to throw a 3-punch combination, misses completely in both. Lasha attacks James to a corner with 2 minutes left of the fight. With only 1 minute left, Lasha takes the fight easy, doubling up combinations. Nothing heavy, but which the commentator said. And James's nose is still bleeding so much, and the round ends with James missing a Deontay Wilder right, and Lasha gets the 4th round there, so nothing much. And before the 5th round starts, Amy Poo comes to James' corner and warns James to make a fight out of it. And as the announcer yells out, round 5, we hear that James's team tells the ref to stop the fight, that they don't want to continue anymore. And the ref weighs it off, giving Lasha the win with 2 seconds of the 5th round by RTD, quarterman retirement. And it was a good win for Lasha. Second pro fight, the referee, Amy Poo, was decent. I will give her credit. At the end of the day, guys, Amy Poo did try her best. And even though she's new into the business with only a couple times in her experience, so can't say much about that. We go to the second fight. We have Prince Hassim Hamed's son Adam Hamad versus Ezekiel Gregoris. I'm just going to call him Ezekiel just for it because I don't know how to pronounce his last name. So, Amy Poo back out refereeing this fight, which this is her last fight. The other fights are going to be by other referees, male, keep that in mind. 3 of the fights are 10 rounds, and the last round's a 12-round fight. I don't have to tell you who. So this, guys, I'm just going to skip this one because this is it. So, round 1, the reporters are saying it's raining or something, or I heard, there was times that while the announcer was announcing the fighters, I could have swore that there were like some raindrops. Like, guys, if you do watch back the footage, it is free on live stream on DAZN. I think I did like some raindrops or something hitting the area, or maybe it's just the quality camera or something like close up. I heard someone say that it was raining, like it was sprinkling or something at the time. And by the way, I do love the moment where Ezekiel, a guy with 3 wins and 24 losses, he comes out with this awesome song that makes him do a ring walk. And before he gets into the ring, and even though he's part in the Argentina, but he's living in Spain, but he is part of the, well, it's pretty difficult. And by the way, Ezekiel with 24 losses, with 3 wins, 4 of them are knockouts. So this is a hard fight if you want to go the distance. But yeah, I actually love that they had like female ring card girls dancing over the music, actually, because there's a time that you see a couple girls dancing outside of the ring, which is okay, great. They're having a good time. And then Hamed comes out, and we even have moments where I think Frank Warren and his father, Hamed, Prince Hassim Hamed, is there, sitting next to him, watching his son fight. So that was pretty good. So the fight comes out. Hamed is wearing black, and Ezekiel is wearing blue. And with all due to respect, Hamed is putting in good offense. With Ezekiel is on the defensive side. I don't know why I typed in offense because he was not offensive in anything. Hamed throwing perfect jabs in this fight. He's going, and by the way, as watching this, I realized that Hamed is southpaw, which is kind of crazy during the mid part of the round, because I was like, the announcers pointed that he was going southpaw, like, and Ezekiel is throwing like 2 heavy right punches in this round, but misses during the time in this round. And Hamed was getting, like, there were times that there were a couple heavy punches in the first round for Ezekiel, but he just couldn't get nothing done. We come to the second round. Hamed again dominates with jabs after jabs after jabs, like with everything going on. And there was a moment where the ref warns for shoving with Ezekiel's back turned away, because there's a moment where they go to a punch and they clinch, and Ezekiel's back is turned from behind of Hamed, and Hamed shoves him a tiny bit, and the ref gives a warning out for that. And then with everything going on, depending on anything else, because we would get a heavy uppercut. There would be a wild heavy uppercut with 30 seconds left landed by Hamed. And this uppercut was so dangerous. And then Hamed lands 2 great punches with a right and a left in part of the, not around 30 seconds, but Ezekiel goes down, exposing his back of his head. And the ref is giving warning to tell him to pick up his head, because every time, and this would be the moment where the final 2 rounds proves that Ezekiel will always go down, exposing the back part of his head. And referee Amy Poo is giving warning. And I will say, though, I am giving credit for Amy to try to give him carefulness, but this guy just didn't want to box Hamed. Because we go to round 3 and Ezekiel is charging. There's a moment in the beginning part of the match where Ezekiel charges and he misses, landing to the ropes with Hamed attacking him. And at this moment, Hamed is landing and Ezekiel is only clinching at this moment. With multiple clinches in this round, nothing much is happening in this round, because with, even though this is a 4-round fight, at this moment it's uneventful. Like, there's nothing much I can say about this. Like, Hamed with 5 wins and 3 knockouts, there's, like, even though 2 of them were first round, 1 was a 4-round, his competition and his his resume after 2 years now hasn't been that good, but it is common to box fighters with nobodies and truck drivers in your first 2 years as pro. So I hope he boxes other fighters in the future. He has to deserve it. But yeah, at this moment, when watching this fight, this was an uneventful fight. With 30 seconds left until the end of the third round is when it got crazy, because the third round became a finale breaker for the last 30 seconds. With Ezekiel goes for the attack. He attacks Hamed with the final seconds, and they were crazy because Ezekiel did land a good shot before the bell rung, and considering it was probably the better round in the entire fight, it wasn't good enough. And we go to the final round. Ezekiel does try to scare Hamed at this round and misses clinches and almost headbutts. And the ref does give warnings for that, which is good, with multiple times of keeping your head up. With Ezekiel, he just doesn't want to fight there at this moment, during the last moment, because Ezekiel comes in with 1 minute and 10 seconds left as he shoves Hamed and misses an uppercut. And then Hamed gets his own dangerous attacks. The final seconds of the fight, Ezekiel can't stop going down, exposing his head again. And this was probably the best round for Ezekiel instead of the third round, even though I don't think it was enough, but it was good. Just wasn't good enough for him to win. After 4 rounds, I gave the rounds to Hamed 40-36. Amy Poo also gives it 40-36. Easy win for Hamed with his 6th victory, and he brings it home. Around 1:30 p.m., a full hour after the show started, that was about it. And for the next 4 or so hours, which didn't seem much, by 2 o'clock p.m., is when they would bring back the show. So by 2 o'clock p.m. is when I think people thought that this was going to be an hour and a half show or something, build up these 2 matches that might go the distance or something like that. And maybe until 2 o'clock p.m., the first match will start until 4:45 to 5 p.m., the main event. So for the next 3 hours at this moment, or 4 hours before we get to the main event. So technically, we did need a lot sitting down. And there weren't a lot of crowd or people there that night, so keep that in mind. The crowd was about to get full in the future, so keep that in mind. There was nothing much. So we have here, guys, I don't want to read my notes because this fight was too dominant. I didn't like every bit of it. I did not like this fight. I hated it. I hated this fight so damn much, I was upset. So Vladislav Serenko is fighting a late replacement, a guy that lost his last fight in December against David Adelaide by first round TKO. Serenko, coming back for a year ago, 3 fights in America as he tried to leave his country because he didn't fight since 2021 December, months before the Ukrainian war happened, and he was out of hiatus for that time, is trying to get a build-up on his career. He was originally supposed to take on another Ukrainian boxer, which goes by the name of Andriy Novitsky. But yet again, that never came in. So they had a new weight replacement, and this was it. And man, oh man, I was upset. So the first round of the fight, both guys were studying each other, and there were some moments in the fight that had something interesting in the first round with punch and like just some jabs and more jabs in the round, and it was an even fight. Good win for Vladislav. You could say Solomon won the fight. So Solomon Dakriz is already trying to come back for his professional loss, and Serenko is just trying to get his footing back here, but this was just not the way to do it. it was bad. I love that they gave this guy an opportunity after he was out of the ring for a few years and he comes back, but it just didn't work out right. It just didn't work because the first round went on, but then the second round it just became different. There was a moment with only 1 minute into the second round. There's a moment where Solomon landed two amazing body punches at one moment, but the fight did have a little bit of boredom to it because there were times that there were clinches. But both guys, the thing was, both guys had their heads up, and like there were times that they were just wrestling on each other. There's a moment in round 3 where a heavy punch, left punch combination by Solomon upstairs, and the punches, both of their punches were weak, and he was getting good body punches in that round because at this moment the thing was, after 3 rounds were over and with everything going on, because the final 7 rounds were just lame. Solomon just found his footing as he did because he just brought in a huge I don't know what to say, guys, because guys, the next fight, whatever you say, was bad enough. Shut up. I'm just trying to shut up. I'm trying to I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say about any of this because both guys just didn't seem good. They just didn't seem it. So after going to the 4th and 5th round, there was a moment where scariness came in round 6 where the final minute of the round, both guys, and Dakari was weighing out punch combinations. And the thing was, Vladislav, his body movement was so bad. Like he wasn't on the attack formation as much. And the problem is, guys, Solomon and their jabs and clinches, not much of clinches, like as clinches as grabbing or holding, it was just not good. There was a moment in round 8, during the beginning part of round 8, that Serenko did try to make a fight out of it and scared out his opponent, and he did try to throw on jabs, but Solomon was just getting the better work. He was getting easy punches, and the thing was, the guy's face was swollen up. Like, Serenko's face just... Like, guys, I don't know how a guy can lose by a first-round knockout against David Adelaide, but then go 10 rounds by domination against this. I'll never know why. I don't know how. And even though the judges, at the end of the day, the judges had their own opinion, but you know what? I had the fight 99-91. And guys, I didn't like it. I didn't like the fight. I felt bad that Serenko didn't do one thing about it. With Marcus O'Donnell, McDonnell gives this fight 99-91. Victor Laughlin and Lee Everly, also from the UK, like Marcus, gave it 98-92. But at the end of the day, there were times that I really couldn't find out. And even when I thought round 8 was a good round for Vladislav, Solomon would just take it on with jabs and win the fight easily with the jabs. This was like a dream fight for him, but the thing was, the damage was already done last December with his loss against David Adelaide. So what was the point for me to commentate over this? And I stopped, and guys, at this moment, I did stop writing notes down because I just didn't feel like reading the fight anymore. I just didn't. There was just so much problems here. I just couldn't really enjoy watching this fight. I just couldn't. It just didn't seem like there was nothing good about this fight. It just didn't, because just Solomon just did something, and I don't know how and why it had to be this way, but you know what? I guess it is what it is. it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, we're at the 30-minute mark, so it's time. It's time. So the score is 1-0 British and Ukrainian 0, but we do have number 2 here. Daniel Lepine, born in Poland, but representing the UK, versus Southampton, Hampshire, UK. Lewis Edmondson, a 6'1" tall dude, but when I actually saw the referee Marcus McDonald being the referee of this fight, by the way, telling both guys to make a fight out of it, I saw a much taller guy that was 6'6". Really, guys, when I saw the referee tell them that we went through the dressing room, expect to do all my commands, this or that, it was like, frick me, man. It was so crazy. Like, Lewis Edmondson was such a short-lived person. Like, this Ukrainian-born Polish fighter was too damn tall. But, man, that short guy, he actually put in a lot of interesting work in this fight, I will say. So both guys study each other in the first rounds, and there were times with Daniel Lepine, he puts in good work. He got through the first round, which would be an interesting round for starters, quite frankly. But the real thing came into the test during the second round, and with both guys, because Edmondson was a great guy. He was bouncing and hopping, and with everything going on, because they were on a completely different path. Because, guys, just like the last fight or some fights ago, because keep this in mind, Daniel is southpaw and Lewis Edmondson is an orthodox. So this was going to be an interesting fight to see that type of combination. And with Lewis being a guy with 11 wins undefeated against 11-win undefeated Daniel Lepine, someone's had to go for a Mark Gastineau record for 12-0 here, because that's what this fight looked like it was going to be. Both guys were trying to get to a 12-0 record to get a big fight, and this is what you get yourself into. It is crazy. And there were times for some of the fight, because like Lewis Edmondson put in a great work of some jabs, like he was handling his left jab in the fight. And while Daniel Lepine was the aggressor of the fight, like trying to tack on, but every time he tried to go forward, Edmondson would get on a good jab and then attack him. There was one moment during the final minute of the fourth round where Daniel Lepine came in and he started charging, going for a body upstairs, and Lewis just goes for a left and angles in, gets a right, left punch, and then backs Daniel Lepine. Like, he goes left, hits him, and takes his hand back and stumbles to the ropes, and Edmondson charges in with a right, left, and he goes for a body punch, and he even pushes him to the corner, and of course, Lepine tried to get out of there, so he countered it by clinching him from behind, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, these guys were up for a test. Like, someone's had to go, and this fight was perfect. This fight was so damn good. I loved it. I was entertained by it. And Lewis Edmondson dominated that round. That round 4 was the most dominant, great round for Edmondson's entire fight. And even after round 3 was a close round, by some of us people, considering how the first few rounds would have been anyone's round, because the first round was clearly a Lepine, and second round, a Lepine, just about, and the third round, maybe a Lepine round. But man, Lewis came into that, and that was that. You just couldn't stop him. And by round 5, they were both just on the mark. But considering it was a both close fight, it was another close round for anyone else. But after round 5 was over, this is where the test came in. Now, any of the judges would have scored it anyway, because it was a tough fight after 5 rounds. But man, the last 5 rounds were clear winners for me to know who won the fight. Because we come to round 6, we come to round 7, we come to round 8, And this 6'1" British fighter that's 5 inches shorter than this Polish-born representing Ukraine gets outboxed. And Lewis Edmondson went out of nowhere in the last 3 rounds and just utterly dominated and attacked out his opponent, get him in cross to the rope. And one of those moments in those 3 rounds came into the 8th round with 1 minute 20 seconds left of the fight. Now, the other rounds were dominant. I'll give you that. But I'm not talking about this fight as much. But the thing is, the best part about this, I wrote down, the 8th round was so damn exciting, I thought someone was going to get hurt. Because I thought this was going to end in controversy, just like Skyward Lacey versus Brandon Moore in February the 2nd before the Clarissa Shields versus Daniel Perkins fight, which is also an undisputed champion that Clarissa Shields is going to fight against Lonnie Daniels next week. So that's going to be interesting. But my point is, he charges after this tall dude, punches, they start clinching each other, and Lapine backs his entire body to the rope that he was about to almost fall. And then he sits his butt on the second bottom of the blue rope, tries to recover, and Lewis is just throwing everything at him. And it was so crazy until Lapine puts a headlock in. And by the way, there's enough headlocks in this fight that I don't have to repeat myself. I wrote a lot of stuff down on my notes here, but just like the other fight I talked about, which wasn't much about the Vladislav Serenko fight, it was just boring stuff I was looking at. But this fight was pretty damn good. So at this moment, with the score being 4-4 in my scorecard, we come to round 9, and the tall dude of Daniel Lapine finally gets his mark in the first 30 seconds of the fight, and he starts putting in jabs at their punches. And Lewis Edmondson at this moment might be getting tired, so Lapine starts trying to charge in and trying to get something done, because at this moment, both of these fighters are even, in my opinion, so they have to go for something here. And he just starts clobbering away as best as he could to win out the round. And Edmondson at this point is tired out. He's gassed out. We come to the 10th and final round, and even though Edmondson did try to put in some good work in that moment, and he tried his best doing what he tried to do, but, and when I say he tried, because I'm not saying that he didn't, it was just the problem was, like, Lewis Edmondson was already tired at this. Shut the hell up. I'm not talking to you. Jesus. I'm tired of the friggin' advertisements. Or not advertisements, but videos. I keep hovering through some other stuff. But yeah, you come to the final round of the fight, and just both guys were just putting in good works. But Lapine was more of the aggressor of the final round, and I wish I could explain it more, but if I had to explain the entirety of each round by round, this entire podcast would be over 2 hours long if I had to talk about the Vladislav Serenko fight, which there's nothing entertaining about it. And I wish I could explain more about this fight, but this would take a half an hour long for me to explain it. Like, guys, Mike Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, when I reviewed that fight from start to finish, it was like over a half an hour long, so there's too much information to talk about. But yeah, after 10 rounds of boxing, Daniel dominates the last round. I give it 96-94. Referee Bob Williams, 95-95, which in fairness, guys, there were some rounds in the fight. Guys, the first 5 rounds of the fight were pretty close, that it would be really hard for anyone to judge who won the fight, because, guys, round 6 to 10 were easy rounds to score. The first 5 rounds were pretty interesting to judge who you think who won, so it could be a draw. But Patrick Morley and Lazbek Janakowski have it 96-94, favoring Daniel Lapine by majority decision. Not only is the IBF Intercontinental Heavyweight, not heavyweight, but light heavyweight champion, as he defended it, he is now the new vacant WBO International Light Heavyweight Championship. So congratulations on that. It was a pretty good win for what it was. And to be honest, I'm not saying that Daniel Lapine is that much of a good fighter. Like, as a light heavyweight boxer, he's 30. He's ranked number 33 as of right now, but with only 4 knockouts in his career, I'm not going to think that he has what it takes. Like his win against Dylan Cullen in December 21st during the build-up for the main event of Usyk versus Fury 2 fight was a pretty good dominant round of a fight. Went 10 rounds by domination. So it's great to see him get experience here against a British fighter, and that was great. So the score is 1-1 even for British and Ukrainian. And the main event, we'll see who wins the overall. Pardon me. Oh, boy. So, Kevin Lourenço, IBO Cruiserweight, and WBA Bridgerweight Champion, 2-time weight class champion, if the IBO is a thing in the future for major, versus former WBO Cruiserweight and former WBC Bridgerweight champion Lawrence Okolie. So guys, Kevin Lourenço, a fighter in his last 6 fights, have been shocked. He picks up an IBO Intercontinental win against Marius Wash in September of 2022, and then fights for a WBA title 3 months later against Daniel Dubois, which should have been his time to win that belt. But karma's a B because Howard Foster had to help out Daniel Dubois, and it still upsets me. So he goes down a few weight pounds to go to Bridgerweight months later against Riyad Murray. Sinad Gashi would be his other win in November. And those wins were 12 rounds, but they were close rounds that those fights would have been not his. He loses against Justice Hooney, which was a pretty close fight in March, which was also my debut for the Mr. GLOAT podcast. Man, I feel old. And then 14 months later, in May the 1st, he defeats Saria Radchenko, May the 1st. But after his loss against Justice Hooney and the whole thing, he was awarded the Bridgerweight title, so he is a world champion. So these two guys are former Cruiserweight and Bridgerweight champions. And I do think the IBO might be a legit major in the future. Maybe. Yeah. So these two guys are former world champions, and 33-year-old Southpaw South African fighter, 6'1", 74-inch reach advantage against a 6'5", 82.5 reach advantage, orthodox 32-year-old fighter, Lawrence Okolie. And the thing is, I will say though, guys, Kevin Lourenço's body weight, he has been controlling his body weight as best he could to be at the 230 mark, because that's how much you have to be. Guys, if you're at 224 pounds even, you're in the Bridgerweight. But if you're over that weight, it's unlimited to be a heavyweight. So he's at that right moment. Lawrence Okolie, on the other hand, is in a different world. Like, he loses against Chris Billam-Smith at 199 pounds in May the 27th for his WBO Cruiserweight title 2 years ago. A year later, he weighed 223.5 pounds to defeat Lucas Razonsky for the Bridgerweight title. Strip it, and then he goes at 260.75 pounds on December against Hassan Mohammed, who is also 261.25, and win first round by TKO for the WBC Silver Heavyweight title. But that didn't mean nothing because Lawrence Okolie just scored 2 amazing first round knockouts in 2024. And I was thinking to myself, maybe Lawrence Okolie isn't a boring boxer after all. He might come back strong. Think again. This fight told the whole story. And guys, I wrote the same notes because, guys, after 2 rounds of writing down what I wrote, because, guys, this is what I wrote. Guys, this is what I wrote after, with everything going on. So, guys, Lawrence Okolie, I don't know what his idea was, why he had to put on. I understand him putting in 223 pounds of weight in boxing at the Bridgerweight, but if he thought that gaining over that amount of over 35 pounds, because I was thinking to myself after that fight against Muhammad for his silver heavyweight title was a thing. I thought he was going to lose some weight. He decided to gain an extra 1.25 pounds to be at 162. So I don't know why Lawrence O'Colly did this. I don't know why. And I just don't understand. I don't understand. And guys, I was looking at a heavy Humpty Dumpty. The first couple rounds went on like it was nothing tomorrow. Lawrence O'Colly was finding strats and other points into the fight at some points of the rounds and other moments. And you come in and, like, with everything going on, I really can't say much about this fight because what else can I say about a fighter that just went on to do nothing but dominate 10 rounds? And the thing was that I was looking at a completely different fighter that was a lot different in 2024 because O'Colly gained too much weight. I don't know why he thought of doing that. Like the first round, he was jabbing on fights with his left. And by the way, like I said before, O'Colly is orthodox and Warana is southpaw. So I did find the first couple rounds to be interesting because like O'Colly was leading off good jabs in the fight and he was doing good. And this was also for a number 1 ranked fighter in the WBC because Lawrence O'Colly is ranked number 1. And he was doing good, getting punches upstairs and downstairs and multitude of punches at some points of the round. So he was putting in a good effort. And then we go to round 2 of the fight. And there was a moment at 1 minute and 30 seconds of fight where I thought Lawrence O'Colly got hit by a jab where O'Colly was trying to throw a couple on jabs here or there. Like guys, every time Lawrence O'Colly does something, he steps off his jab, boom, does that, boom. And then sometimes there's times in later parts of the fight, he goes jab, clinch. And that's the stuff I wrote. And I was already tired of writing the same stuff down. So I stopped because, guys, after round 2, he goes forward, steps his left foot back, goes forward. And as he does that, at 1 minute and 30 seconds, Kevin finally gets a right punch combination jab, hits, and then he tries to go forward. And there were times that Warana tried to get his head movement, but there wasn't much to it. And then they start clinch and just getting a lot of moments here there. When it comes to clinches, that was the thing you would get. And that was it. I stopped it. And guys, that was the moment when I was watching live streamer of Counterpunch Boxing and him talking about what his thought was because he was live streaming this around the time. So I decided to watch this stuff on my computer, and and also, guys, at the time, with all due to respect, I was also deciding to find live streamers watching this, and surprisingly, there was that live group of people. Oh boy, I can't even breathe. I can hardly breathe right now. And but the YouTube channel was called The Pain Game, and they were live there at Wembley with a bunch of his friends at the time commentating. They weren't commentating, they were just talking about the stuff, about what the fight they were gonna see, about Don Charles, this or that, or say, oh man, Don Charles thing, oh you cheated, this or that. It's like, so they were ignoring the entirety of the fights that were happening next to them, and they just wanted to get to the main event. So Counterpunch Boxing was the only person that was in the commentating, and some of the stuff he said were similar stuff that I said, but he had more to it to say. So hearing some of the stuff that he said was pretty on point with the stuff I had to say differently. So Counterpunch Boxing had a lot more interesting stuff to point out about what he was looking at the fight, and because at the end of the day, it was just not good. There was nothing good about this fight for what we were getting ourselves into. Shut the hell up. There was just nothing good about anything in this show because I was looking at an entirety of just fighters that were just overweight. like said, I did saw the fights, and there were body punches and other stuff, but Lawrence Okawi, he was too tired because at this moment there wasn't a lot to be said by any means necessary, because Lawrence Okawi was landing more punches. He was the aggressor of all 10 rounds. He really was. And round 9 had to be the better round for Kevin Lorana. And the stuff I saw is what I said without writing nothing down, because I did go back to try to understand what I was seeing, and there were moments that he did put in a good work, but yet again, what else could I say? It was there was a time when round 8, during the start of round 8, there was a moment where Kevin Lorana start that actually slipped. And because there were times that were slipping jabs, but he was not in the moment of the fight as much. The thing was, Lawrence Okawi, a guy that scored a dangerous knockout against Lucas Rozanski last year ago, gets first round at this moment. Yeah, this was not the Okawi I thought of. I didn't like his performance, and what even stinks is that he's the number 1 contender for the WBC. And the odds of him getting that win against Agit Kabayel is possible. And that's what I'm afraid of. So I hope we don't get that. But the thing is, guys, if Lawrence Okawi does get a heavyweight title shot and wins, that'll be a shocker. Him being a 3 weight class champion, whether the Bridgerweight will be a thing in the future, that's still crazy. Crazy than you think. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. By the way, is there any information about the guys before we get back to other stuff, guys? Guys, before we get to the main event, let me get down to business and see what we have in store for. Guys, after 24 hours of trending, Lasha Gurui, the winner of the 5th round knockout of his fight in Corman retirement, has received 24 followers after 24 hours of trending, having more followers right now after his first win in Wembley Stadium. And he's actually has 10 more followers, more than Manny Pacquiao, who has 16. So, yeah, even Daniel Lapine has 9 followers. Damn. With Lasha Gurui having 68 followers total, which is not much, but hey, you got to get some followers to follow you. So it's great that Lasha Gurui is doing a good job. You know what? I'm going to follow him just to get 27. Kind of deserves it. So, yeah, congratulations. I guess he's on. Oh, hey, look, Mizuki Hiruda, number 1 pound for pound. Yay. I love it when someone puts her on there. I love it. So what about Manny Pacquiao? Before we get back to the show, is there anything happening behind the scenes of boxing? Not yet, but I didn't know Manny Pacquiao had a promoted fight on the 27th. Interesting. So is there any other fights happening yet? Nope, not one fight has ended yet. Just the 4 fights I've talked about have already happened. So I guess they're going to have to get on to updates on what's happening. Whatever's happening in the MGM Grand and the Grand Garden Arena right now on Tom Brown promotion as we speak on Amazon Prime Video, we're going to have to wait and see. Finally, the main event, Undisputed Heavyweight Gold, all on the line. Daniel Dubois versus Alexander Usyk. Now, guys, we can talk about the history and the last days when Usyk's coming out on Daniel, telling, "Where are you, Daniel?" He's in his home turf. Talk about the moment when they were actually eye to eye outside on the weigh-in, both looking at each other, and then Dubois pounds Don Charles to get him out of the way or something. We could talk about the press, or we can even talk about the interview on with the gloves off, where one of the reporters told Daniel about the jab that ended the fight, and he told him not to do that. Looking back at it, guys, I was thinking to myself, this might be an act for Daniel Dubois, but maybe Daniel Dubois might pull out something here. The thing I didn't know, guys, is that this was crazy. We had 2 American judges and 1 Canadian judge, and a Canadian referee. That referee was Michael Griffin. And I didn't even know he was Canadian. And when I heard that he was reffing this fight, I was thinking, yeah, this is going to be an upset. Because if you guys didn't know, 6 years ago, Michael Griffin stopped Anthony Joshua, with Andy Ruiz becoming new unified champion in Madison Square Garden. So this was going to be something that was going to shock me, whether I liked it or not, but crazy nonetheless. So, from all that being said, so guys, we already know that they were going to come out with Sweet Carolina. Like, I love that every time Sweet Carolina plays, the crowd just goes, hey, hey, hey. It's just so good. Like, and guys, the thing is, guys, Sweet Carolina was a song that came out in the 60s. And it's still popular to this day. It's ridiculous, but you know what? It's actually pretty awesome for people to do that. So yes, Usyk is 38, 27-year-old Dubois, 11 years apart, 222 pounds? Like, yeah, 227 and a quarter pounds, and Dubois 243 and a half. So Usyk is keeping a good eye on his weight at that pound of the weight limit, of a few pounds over the weight of heavyweight, which you have to do. And I think at heavyweight for 220 is pretty good for today. But I don't know why they had to make the bridger weight to be at 200 to 224. Why not just make it 215? I don't know why they made the bridger weight that much. Better yet, if the cruiserweight was not at 175, it was at 190, then why would they make the bridger weight be at 190 to 205? That would have been a lot more appropriate than 224. I don't know why they're upping up the weight classes to over a quarter of 100 pounds, like over 20, almost 25 pounds. That's ridiculous. So the fight starts off in the first round, and Dubois charges after him, starts off, and mostly just to scare off Usyk. Usyk's in white with red straps, all black for Dubois, and with everything. And he corners out Usyk to one of the corners, but Usyk does not want to be stuck in a corner, not one bit. So he comes out and starts getting some jabs thrown in. And there was a 2-punch combination that was good for Dubois at the moment of the fight. But I think the real moment came in the final seconds of the fight, where Usyk scared off Dubois, and just out of nowhere, he just starts out with this punch combination. He goes left, he throws a right, misses, but then connects with a left that finally almost brought Dubois' knees wobbling, which was a scary moment. Like, he missed the right, but connected with a left, which was kind of scary to look at. And then he tried to go for a right and left, but Dubois ducks and the bell rings. We come into the second round, and like all other stuff, there's a moment where both of them are studying each other, like who's going to attack first. Are you going to attack? Are you going to do it? Or am I going to do it? So that's the whole point of the first rounds of the fight. And I think Dubois wanted to end things. And with only a minute and 30 seconds into the round, Dubois attacks Usyk, tries to push him straight into the rope, misses with Usyk backing away while laying a good right into the chin, which I'm shocked that he actually connected that. And Dubois missed out punches for some reason, which was crazy. But yeah, that was a scary moment. I was really shocked that Usyk landed that left punch cleanly. And with 20 seconds left of the round, like Dubois trying to go for left punches and Usyk scaring him with right on punches. And the way he swings his arm is like he's swinging a baseball bat, trying to lose the bat. Like he's trying to make Dubois lose his balance, because every time you swing someone, like you're hitting someone with a baseball bat with your arm, it's gonna knock you body back and you're gonna lose your balance. And I think that's what Usyk was trying to do. And then Dubois charges in, left jab on Usyk, and Dubois backs away only for Usyk to attack him back, and it was crazy. And by round 3, the inevitable came. Both guys were on the ropes, and well, I wouldn't say on the ropes literally, but both guys were just on fire. Both guys like charge each other. And by the way, I do realize that Usyk did have paint around his gloves or something like that, or red but white with like red blood or something. Interesting gloves he was wearing. By the way, guys, I wasn't writing any notes for this fight. I was only watching and listening to what Counterpunch and, the commentator dudes I was talking about. I was also watching live at the time. So I was watching 2 different perspectives while watching a different perspective at the same time with the fight, seeing what they had to point out. And yeah, it was interesting. With 1 minute and 20 seconds left of the third round, Dubois finally goes for the charge attack. Usyk misses, and then Dubois tries to throw and go for a punch. Usyk scares him with the right, backs away, and Dubois tries to charge in, and a left, right to the noggin, hurts. It was scary. I was surprised that Dubois was taking those punches. That was crazy. And Usyk was just on control there. It was crazy. But surprisingly, Dubois was doing a good job because he started putting offensive work onto himself in that round. And by the end of the third round, it was a close round. And I believe there was a moment at the end where Dubois managed to have something there and Usyk got one extra punch at the end. But that had to be the most closest round to score. And I thought Dubois might have won round 3. And with the judges, which I didn't know at the time were American, I really thought this was round 3 for Dubois, which surprisingly 2 of the 3 judges had it. So fair enough. The fourth round was another moment where you would think that anyone would have won the round, but Usyk went on to charge everywhere from that round. And there was a moment where I think Dubois got a good uppercut in the fight, and there was moments that they were scared. They were landing, throwing punches at each other, but there was no charging at the time. I wasn't expecting, guys, there weren't a lot of clinches in this round or the fight that I expected. So this was a pretty clean fight, and it was a scary one until round 5. And guys, I did not expect round 5 to be the round to be over. Like, you come to round 5 last year ago and Dubois wins it. You come to round 5 the year later, and this is what you get. 2 minutes left of the fight. Usyk scares off Dubois, and then he tries to study him, trying to scare him off, and then he swings a perfect punch right to the chin, and then he gets another right punch, hits Dubois, backs into the corner, and then Dubois tries to get out of the way, and Usyk stops his counter, only for realizing that Dubois is about to get back up. And I'm surprised that Dubois recovered from those 2 punches, because now Dubois is charging to him. He pushes Usyk straight to the ropes, throws out a left on right, tries to get a right, and then he pushes Usyk right into the corner, which is actually a scary situation. Usyk tried to get a left, which he connected. And then as Dubois tried to push him forward to get him to the punching bag in the corner, Usyk sets up this left because Dubois, out of nowhere, exposes his left arm away. I think he was trying to go for a body punch. And there was a moment in round 4 where he did do a body punch, but the referee didn't give no controversy, and the commentators pointed out there was a body punch, but no controversy. I did love that in the 5th round or something, the commentators pointed out that the referee was the same ref that had the Joshua and Ruiz fight, and this might be another upset. So I love that the commentators pointed that out, which is crazy. But as he does it, he exposes, tries to go for a body punch, And Usyk, he sets up this right, exposing the head of Dubois right in the equilibrium, connects, and Dubois goes straight, loses his balance, goes 10 feet straight to the right with his knees on the ground. And the crowd friggin' counterpunch boxing. And oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The Pain game are screaming like animals when Dubois was knocked down. And all I was doing, I was standing over there holding my elbow to the chair. I'm like, I'm not writing any notes because I'm just walking back and forth to the kitchen, just thinking, because I'm just upset, thinking, oh, it's going to be an upset. Oh, this fight's going to go 12 rounds. I'm just walking, thinking this is going to be a long day. But when I heard the knockout, I was thinking, oh, wait, is this Dubois or Usyk? Oh, it's Dubois. And I saw it. I'm looking at the fight. I'm listening to the commentators. I'm listening to counterpunch boxing. I'm listening to the one-man game. And they're all screaming the Pain game. And they're all screaming. They're all going crazy. And I'm not celebrating. I'm just... my heart's pumping into my game. I feel like my heart is pumping, and now I'm having a heartburn right now. But then Dubois gets back up as before the count of 6. Well, the referee says counts it to 7 as he gets back up. 8 for a mandatory because it's mandatory 8. Tells him to continue. Throws his gloves to let him know if he's ready. And Usyk does not hesitate for Dubois to recover. Dubois puts his hands like this, and as he does it, Usyk is ready to throw his right, and Dubois exposes the left side. He did not realize that Usyk was ready to throw his right. He did this. Usyk is about to throw this punch here, and Dubois ducks his punch, exposing the part of his cheek. Usyk connected hard on that punch. And as Dubois is getting out of the way, he backs his body like this, getting hit, and Usyk ducks, missing a wild, slow left, which is crazy enough. He gets back up, turns around, tries to recover, and Usyk goes for 2 punches where he goes for a punch, and then he goes for a left jab, and then both of them throw a right, and they completely missed, which is crazy. Dubois is tired, and as both of them miss their punches, Dubois realizes what he did wrong, so he's trying to get back to protect his right side cheek, because as both Usyk and Dubois miss their right, Usyk sets up this baseball swing. Like he swings his like this, like he's swinging and just right on. Like he's swinging his arm so much, like he's ready to swing a baseball bat. That's how dangerous this punch was. Dubois notices it. He's about to try to put his glove back here. And at that moment, as for a couple frames as he does it, Usyk, left jab, left swing, hits part of Dubois' glove, knocks Dubois' right glove away from him. He powered that shot so much that it knocked the glove off of Dubois where he was trying to protect his cheek, and just out of nowhere. And then his legs wobble and gets the ground again. And wow. And then as the ref counts to 6, he finally sits back up. 7, 8, and before 9, he's about to try to get back up. He gets onto his knees at the count of 9. Well, one of his left knees. But as to the count of 10, he gets on, he puts his right glove. But before he puts his right glove on the canvas with his left foot on the ground and his right knee is still on the canvas, the referee calls it off. And I already put the timer. It was already 10 seconds. So the ref did a good call. Usyk celebrates and Dubois walks past him. And looking back at it, I was now thinking Dubois really wanted to punch Usyk, and I think Usyk should have been careful about that. but nothing happens. Like Usyk goes to the corner, celebrates in shock, and for me, I'm just like my heart is beating, and not knowing what I was seeing here was just crazy. So two of the judges had 39 to 37, and one had 40 to 36. And in all fairness, that's fair judging there. And that had to be the fairest judges I've ever had to say, considering this fight took place in Wembley. But man, after 101 years of Dalmatian, if you people ever thought 101 years of Dalmatian, since the first ever event took place back in August the 9th, 1924, almost 101 years right now, you ever thought that we were going to have an undisputed heavyweight championship in 2025? I would tell people you're full of it. That's impossible. How can you predict the future that we're going to have an undisputed heavyweight title in the next 101 years in 2025? That's just ridiculous. So the 15th event, I love that Usyk. So guys, I love that Usyk came in like never before. Like Usyk came in, the announcers announced him as the winner, and he thanks so much. Like he wants to take a break and be with his family and for a few months. And I love that the commentator, I don't want to say too much about what he said. I'll talk about it in the future, but he tells him, we have fighter, we have Derek Chisora over there, of Joshua over there, we have Agit Kabayel, and they want to know who you're going to fight next. And Dubois says, I would say Tyson Fury. I question. Maybe Anthony Joshua. Maybe Derek Chisora. He did say, how about we do a 3-fight? Chisora, Joshua, maybe Joseph Parker. Like, he's just calling out everyone. He never said Agit Kabayel, which kind of did upset me, but yeah, he's already a tired man. Wait, let's not get to him. Like, he has to get some rest. But yeah, I did love some of it, but yet again, I wasn't. There were times that I had enough to talk about what we were getting ourselves into, but like I said, it is crazy. Now, I will say, though, there was a moment where they stated that a performance like that, you always surprise me. 38 isn't old at all, is it? 38 isn't old at all? And 38 is a young guy, remember. And my phone's about to turn off, which means I might have to end this podcast. So next time, we're going to have to end this podcast because my phone's about to go off. And I'll say thank you, viewers, for watching this episode. Sorry for had to cut over there. What do I have to say about this? Well, guys, the fight card was pretty not good, except the Lapine and Lewis Hartson fight. But that's the way life goes. So thank you, viewers, for watching this episode. Sorry that my camera phone is about to turn off. So thank you, viewers, for watching this episode. I'll talk more about the post-fight interview in another episode with the Manny Pacquiao and the Mario Barrios fight that's happening just today. So we'll see you guys next time. And with that being said, the Fox Wolf says,